Well, good morning. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here on well all the streaming services right now. We're on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube all at the same time, all from this palatial studio here in West Central Florida. This is the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. We are glad that you are here today. Well, yesterday or last evening it was a time, wasn't it? It was a time. But when the sun comes up, and the sun did come up. It's right out there. Can you see the reflection on my hand? It's right there. It's right there. So the sun did come up, and I know a lot of people. I got a couple of IMs last night about people being frustrated and worried and even afraid. And I said, the sun will come up. And it did. There it is. So whenever the sun comes up, there is an opportunity. There is a chance. And we just have to take that opportunity and do the best we can with it. Be able to assess the situation that we have and then be able to move forward. President Trump, somehow you've been living under a rock the past 12 hours, was in New York in a Manhattan courtroom, the Manhattan judge and a Manhattan prosecutor and a Manhattan jury, convicted on all 34 counts of mishandling mishandling documents as they relate to the Stormy Daniels incident or situation. Yeah, the whole idea of what the secondary crime is, I don't know. I still don't think we know. And if you think we know, go ahead and write it, in the comments or write it underneath what the second crime is. Somehow interfering with the presidential election. Well, when you are working to make sure that negative information doesn't come out about you, I don't know if that's interfering really. Is it? Kinda. Okay, I want to ask also, and I'm just going to ask some questions because I want you to do your thing. I understand that the statute of limitations had officially run out, but Alvin Bragg, invoked the COVID rules, and are we going to be able to invoke the COVID rule from now and in eternity because things were in such chaos that they caused, and because of that, let's see, we got that going on there. Let me move these and see if we can make that better for you. Hopefully, now that we have COVID was a disruptor for everything, so now that sort of stopped time and sort of said, and then said, so because of COVID, we can, prosecute him past the time limit, right? Really? The judge said, you know what, all of you don't have to agree on every single charge. If four of you agree on this one and four agree on this one and four agree on, for some other part of it, then that'll work. I don't, from all the legal minds that I have seen and read, Jonathan Turley, Chris Ann Hall, and others, I don't think, a lot of people will say that, well, that's not right. That's not right. And others say that this case is ripe for reversal on appeal. And obviously it's going to be appealed, obviously. Now, the question is, what is Judge Merchan going to do to Donald Trump? Now that he's been convicted, is he really going to sentence him to 136 years in jail? Really? Or is he going to fine him? Or is he going to put him on house arrest because there's going to be an appeal? Is it going to be on house arrest? Or he's going to just let him go? We don't know. That sentencing date is July 11th, so circle that on your calendar. on July 11th, because 4 days later, on July 15th, the Republican National Convention starts. And what are they going to do? It is more than obvious that Republicans around the country have chosen Donald Trump as their candidate. Now, my wife asked me this yesterday, and I want to make sure everybody understands. The Republican National Committee can pick anybody they want. They don't have to pick Trump. Yes, that's true. Because I keep telling you guys that these parties are just clubs. They're just clubs. They're like the Elks or the Moose Club or whatever, or the Hell's Angels. They can pick whomever they want. Just because they've gone through this process, and they've gotten what people's preferences are, and that's all it is. That's why it's called the presidential preference primaries. Preference. They could still choose whomever they want. They could draft a Marco Rubio. They could draft a Ron DeSantis. They could draft a Nikki Haley. And if those people decided that that they'll do it, that they'll stand in, then that'll be the nominee. Now, my opinion is, if that happens, it will literally spell the end of the Republican Party. So if they do that, and you think you have a better idea for a political party, go ahead and flesh that out. Be ready to hop right in there and do that. Because nothing in the Constitution right now stops Donald Trump from running for president and being elected. So if that happens, Donald Trump will run third party, and the Republican Party will be done. It won't matter if you are registered Republican or not, because there won't be a party. It'll be like registering Whig or Bull Moose. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting how all the things that could happen. Hopefully, calmer heads will prevail. They haven't so far. People like this are taking a victory lap. Tweeting on X, telling Donald Trump to just hush. You're guilty. You're now a convicted felon. But there is, and I think we're going to see it. I really do. I think we're going to see it. There is this opportunity for this to backfire horrifically if Democrats aren't super careful. And no one's ever accused them of being careful, let alone super careful, right? No one's ever said that they were careful, because they're just like AOC said. When they're in power, they use it. Do they always use it correctly? They hardly ever use it correctly. But when they're in power, they use their power. Unlike Republicans. Republicans don't. When they're in power, when they're in charge, they don't ever use their power. They don't ever use their power. Which is why, they hate Trump, because when Trump got an opportunity to put judges in place, he put judges in place. Dude had a list. And then went down the list. Bang, 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 bang. All the Senate had to do was go, who? Sure. Rubber stamp. Who? Yeah, sure. Rubber stamp. So it is easily okay and appropriate to say that the current Supreme Court is a Trump court. Yeah. Easily. With both Brent Kavanaugh and Coney Bryant. Yeah, sure. See, when you combine them with Justice Thomas and Alito, yeah, definitely a Trump court. Which is why, and I think that I think this is something that we ought to look forward to, or have on our radar scope. This is why this guy right here, if you don't recognize him, he's Mark Levin, um, has the following advice for the Trump legal team, and I won't try to imitate him, because if you listen to his voice on the radio, you don't think that the dude's like over 6 feet and big and will whip your ass, but he will. The issue is how to get out of the New York system and bring the case to the Supreme Court, which may or may not take up the case. This is why, according to Mark Twain, he says, I look to Bush v. Gore, where the Supreme Court decided to step in because it was a presidential election. There was another court involved, the Florida Supreme Court, and it was that court that the Supreme Court believed was violating the Equal Protection Clause. That was the doctrine it settled on, given the unequal treatment of voters. In New York, you would file the notice of appeal, ask for a stay of the trial court, and seek the expedited review. You need to protect your ability to timely appeal and not abandon it. You might then file an application for common law writs in the U.S. Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court can take action if it chooses. And legitimately claim the harm is immediate and ongoing, not just to the presidential candidate, but to the federal electoral system, federal campaign jurisdiction, which is reverse federalism, and the president that might otherwise be set or spread throughout the country. The denial of due process infected every aspect of this case. The Supreme Court has common law powers, common law writs, judicially created, not statutorily created. It uses very sparingly in extraordinary circumstances to grant relief. Waiting would compound the problem. The problem now is that every day that goes by, the actions of the New York lower court bleeds into the federal presidential election system. What is it in? Will other DAs use the Bragg Merchant precedent, such as it is, going forward and not care what higher state courts have said? Those courts may not act quickly or at all. So now local prosecutors and state judges will intervene in presidential elections or federal elections. We need to give the Supreme Court the opportunity to intervene. If it chooses not to, then it won't. Between Jack Smith criminalizing election challenges to the point that we don't know what is or is not legal, and now Bragg and Merchan criminalizing events and activities that are not illegal, to the point that we don't know what they are, the Supreme Court, in my view, must do something. In the end, the Supreme Court will not be able to avoid this forever. Better to deal with it now than later, when it will get worse. The Supreme Court needs to be involved in this, and I understand. Otherwise, this will be the thing, right? And what Democrats don't get is that, and Republicans have the very same problem. Something that they use that's out of pocket will be used against them too. Because now it's out there. Now it's out there in the ecosystem, and it's a why not? You remember when they used it against us? Now we're going to use the very same thing in the very same way against you. It's a very bad thing. I mean, here's the deal. And I think a lot of people have this wrong. Paying somebody to be quiet and not interfere, it may not be ethical, but it ain't illegal. It's not. And I think a lot of people think that the whole, because it been presented that way. It's a hush money trial. There's nothing illegal about paying hush money. See, and that's the deal. It's nothing illegal. Nothing illegal about paying somebody to shut their face. Hey, listen, I know you want to talk. Let me help you. Here's some cash. Shut up. Okay? Go away. Happens all the time. There was nothing illegal about Bill paying Paula $800,000 to go away. Happens all the time. Right? Corporations, you wonder how Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton got rich? By corporations paying them money to be quiet, to go away. That's how. That's how they got rich. Jesse didn't get rich because of donations to the Rainbow Coalition. Al Sharpton didn't get rich because he was the stage manager for James Brown. That's not how he got rich. Corporations paying them off to be quiet. That's how they got rich. So, frankly, there's nothing. Now, hate Trump, love Trump, hate Trump. Nothing that happened, except I guess for filling some paperwork out to sort of keep all of this under wraps. But we don't even know that, really. I believe that we will find out, and probably sooner than later. Again, the sentencing is on July. It's supposed to be on July 11th. The appeals will obviously happen faster than that. Will they be expedited in New York? No. But we'll see, right? We'll see. Will the Trump legal team be able to get this case out of New York and into the hands of the Supreme Court? Well, that'll take a while. I don't see that happening in the next few days. Do you? If you do, write down in a comment, what's the scenario that this could happen in, in less than, I don't know, a year? What do you think Michonne will do? Will Michonne sentence Trump to report to jail immediately on the 11th of July? Or will there be a fine? Or will there not be any sentencing because of the appeals that will be taking place? Will Trump be able to travel to campaign? Will he be able to travel to receive the nomination of the Republican Party? Here's where the Democrats seem to overstep, and this is kind of cool because they always overstep. They always freaking go too far. They do. Now, because they always go too far, if for some reason they decide, Mershon decides that Trump's going to be under house arrest, which is a possibility, and he has to do his acceptance speech of the nomination on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever, his base loses their mind and forces the Republican Party to go whole hog. So barring any funny business, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately I got to say it that way, barring any funny business. In the process, Trump wins in a landslide. That's all there is to it. In a friggin' landslide. I think there's a possibility that Trump wins 48 out of 50. I almost screwed it up. 48 out of 50 states. That's the kind of landslide I'm talking about. There's an opportunity. Now, if it happens, I don't know, but it could. And then what do? Your duly elected president is on house arrest. I don't know, in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, I don't want to be convicted of a crime, and I don't want to be on house arrest. But if I had to be on a house arrest, Mar-a-Lago, not bad. Not a bad place to be put on house arrest, right? Like somehow the country couldn't be run from Mar-a-Lago. Seems like it could be. Seems like the inauguration could be in Mar-a-Lago. It may be. Because what people like, let me get my thing here. What people like this don't understand is that the American people don't agree with her. The American people agree with him. And because of that, they've overstepped again. They overstep and they step right in. And unless they're really smart, which they are not, this too could be the end of the Democrat Party. Could be. And we get rid of the Democrat Party and go right hardcore into the socialist communist parties, where the gloves are taken off. But then at least we're talking about the same things. Everybody's being honest at that point. I don't know. What do you think will happen? What do you think you ought to do? What are you planning? Are you planning anything? Are you sitting quietly and waiting? What are you doing? Write it down in the comments. My name is Billy Lawson. This has been The Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of FightBackMedia.com, 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 and FightBackMediaTV.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.